2019, the 30th, yes, the 30th birthday of Samsara, I thought, why not do a little homage to it by reviewing the Eau de Parfum. Hello everybody and welcome to the red, silky, oriental flavor of the Fashion Bunker. Now, I did not expect this, but I don't know who of you remembers, I wore this. This is a kimono, actually. It's the inside of a kimono that I wore on the outside because it's a reversible kimono in my review of Samsara, the Eau de Toilette. And I guess this is the second bottle that was designed for it. So what I was saying in the beginning, I didn't expect the video, totally out of screen. I didn't expect the video to be that pleasantly received, and you guys seem to love Guerlain and you want me to make more Guerlain videos. Well, since I'm enjoying Samsara, the Eau de Toilette, and a lot of you have been telling me that the Eau de Parfum is great as well. Well, guess what? We're gonna test it out today. Samsara, the Eau de Parfum, Guerlain, in the new B bottle. Let's open it. So let's put the Eau de Toilette aside for a second because, of course, we will get back to it because we're also going to compare the two. Samsara being that sandalwoody delight from Guerlain. And in the Eau de Toilette form already, quite powerful. But let's see what the new Samsara in its B bottle... Why did I open it completely? I always leave these on. Well, whatever. Put it on later. What Samsara in the B bottle delivers in this formulation, which many people have said to be weaker. I wonder why this is already the second Guerlain bottle. So this is the front of the box, but when you pull it out, the sticker is not on the front, but it's on the back. Like you pull the bottle out this way instead of this way. Weird. Okay. Yeah. So quick note in the back, embrace your perfume. Wait. Embrace your perfume in the mythical B bottle, designed in 1853 by Pierre-François Pascal Guerlain for the Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III. This precious bottle is adorned with the symbol of the empire, the bee. Samsara, a sandalwood overdose embellished by ylang ylang and jasmine. Thank you, Guerlain, for the description. For those of you who watch my channel, you've already seen my review of Guerlain's L'Instant. There you go. If you haven't seen it, go check it out now because it's a lengthy review, but very interesting first impressions. And now that I've been wearing it a couple of days, I can tell you that I'm loving it more and more, and I'm wearing it a lot. Surprisingly, more than I thought I would. You can go and check out that video where, well, see the video. There's a lot to be said. But the amber is getting to me. So that's just a quick note. The amber is really getting to me in this one, together with the Lily of the Valley. But check out the review. Link in the description box down below. Okay, but back to Samsara. Let's spray it on immediately. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the Eau de Parfum here, and we're going to have the Eau de Toilette here. Okay? So... let's do 3 spritzes. Why not? You know what I mean? If we're going there, we're going there all the way. There. Aldehydes. I personally... Oh, it's very Chanel-ish. Why is she always running away? Why you want to go up there? Stay here, Sammy. That's my nickname for Samsara, by the way. Okay. So... the Eau de Parfum, by the way, lists the same ingredients as the Eau de Toilette. Let's see a bit more details about it. So the Guerlain fragrance, created by Jean-Paul Guerlain in 1989, sensual, sophisticated, woodsy fragrance, suitable for romantic dates as well as for daily use. The top notes are juicy and fresh, bergamot, lemon, ylang ylang, peach, and green notes. The heart is blooming in opulent flowers, elegant jasmine, cold woodsy iris, luscious narcissus, violet and delicate rose. The base is composed of sandalwood, vanilla, tonka bean, amber, and musk. Now, to have ylang ylang in the top notes is it's something. Let me just check if they state, no, they don't give us any on the packaging, any percentage of alcohol as opposed to water or whatever, so that I could compare it to the eau de toilette. But oh my gosh, it is so powerful. I mean, it's chemical. You know, for those of you who just tune in for the first time and see my videos, that's why I repeat certain concepts. But I'm sorry for those of you who watch all my videos and you kind of hear me say the same thing over and over and over again. I just got to bear in mind that some people just tune in for the first time. So just to be fair to everyone, I do repeat certain basic concepts all the time. And one of those basic concepts being that fragrances nowadays are mostly synthetic, you know, for the most part. There are exceptions, but mostly when fragrances are natural, their lasting power is not as strong, and most of them are synthetic, especially mass-produced ones. Okay, so there's a lot of synthetic elements here. The fact that we have ylang ylang in the top notes is just mesmerizing. It is a powerful, it's not cloying, but ylang ylang has a sticky quality to it. You know, in Chanel perfumes, ylang ylang is usually in the mid notes, rarely in the base notes, mostly in the mid notes, and it's covered up by other ingredients. Here, the ylang ylang shines at the top. It's like a sparkly aldehyde of sorts. It's not an aldehyde, obviously, but it sparkles as if it were one. And I mean, all of the green notes that we have with it, you know, the lemon, the bergamot, and just in general, the green notes listed are there, but not as much as I would say is the peach mixed with the ylang ylang. Now, the peach with the ylang ylang, what can I say? It's just, oh gosh. It's just that good, really. And we're just in the opening notes, and it's makeup-y as well, but not a dry makeup. It's more like a very luscious, sticky but not cloying. How can that be? Well, ylang ylang has like it makes your mouth water type of. It makes you want to. It's juicy. It's a juicy stickiness. It's a supple, juicy stickiness. The ylang ylang in the top notes here, and because it is artificial, it's a bit plasticky as well. The synthetic aspect of it is plasticky. But boy, when plastic smells good, does it ever smell good. Let me put on the eau de toilette immediately before kind of these top notes start, you know, vanishing on us, so I could kind of compare the development of both of them. So let's do 3 spritzes here as well. So we do 3 on each hand. Well, let's put it there. The eau de toilette is more alcoholic. It's an etylic. It's an etylic version. Obviously, this is also a reformulated version. This is also not the original formula, but it is one step underneath this one in terms of formulation degrees. So, this one is more powdery smelling to me, and I mean, we're going to get to the iris and the orris root in the mid notes. I guess I'm already sensing them because I have a tendency of smelling out the powdery notes immediately, and iris and orris root together are just bomb in that. So this one is ylang ylang iris orris rooty already. This one this one is developing in a more late 80s, early 90s way. It has something a bit more pungent, a bit more concrete, if you may. This one is softer. You feel like the essential oils or whatever they did use in here, that they are more, I don't know if they're of a higher concentration, but they're definitely balancing out the alcohol better. They're kind of dancing on top of the alcohol, while here the alcohol is more on top, hence being more pungent. But it is an eau de toilette, so it is allowed to be pungent. And this particular type of pungency is what I would define being a typical 80s, 90s type of character of a fragrance. Smelling them now. I mean, they're super similar. They're almost the same. I mean, there's not much to say in terms of difference. I mean, maybe by the time this formulation came across, they watered it down further, even more. So hence, the eau de parfum of today is the eau de toilette of yesterday. Put that on a t-shirt. Copyright superdacob. The eau de parfum of today is the eau de toilette of yesterday. Only the fragrance geeks like us know what that means. Great. Another nerdism for you. But, I mean, it truly is that way. Now, of course, they're both in their opening notes now, so they're both very intense. They both have the same notes listed. If I do check what, in general, people consider to be the most fragrant of the ingredients smelled out, in this case, everybody lists sandalwood and on second spot, ylang ylang. Here we have the same, sandalwood and ylang ylang on second place, except here we got vanilla in third position, and here we get the iris in the third position. So what are the mid notes? The mid notes are iris, for both of them, violet, orris root, jasmine, rose, and we have narcissus. And then both of them in the base notes list musks, well, musk, amber, tonka bean, vanilla. Then we got sandalwood, of course, and then we have a second entry, iris, yet again. And I repeat, iris being present in both eau de toilette 2 times, as well as in the eau de parfum, present 2 times, both in the mid notes as well as in the base notes. This one is a tad bit lighter, but this could be a placebo effect just because it says eau de toilette. I mean, I love ylang ylang, right? And again, you know, when it comes to these big perfume houses that are so famous, you have to compare the biggest ones with each other. And of course, the second one I always mention, well, in my case, the first one I always mention is Chanel. Chanel is to me king when it comes to ylang ylang. Guerlain is king when it comes to vanilla. I am very pleasantly surprised with their amber in Listan, but when it comes to Guerlain, for me, Guerlain is master of vanilla, and Chanel is master of ylang ylang and the May Rose. So this ylang ylang is not as good as the ylang ylang we smell out in Chanel number 5, when it kicks in, mind you, but it's still really delicious. And I just love, love, love how Guerlain manages to tickle out that vanilla. It's always a classic Guerlain vanilla, but it smells slightly different in every composition. And in fact, already now I'm starting to smell out the differences because of the vanilla mixing with the iris and the orris root in these two here. Here, in the eau de toilette, the vanilla is more tamed, but not by the iris or the orris root. I would rather say more by the rose and also by the jasmine. Yeah, I would say more rose and jasmine. Here, it's vanilla with iris and orris root. This one is turning more powdery. This one is turning more rosy. Both screaming sandalwood, but this one being, you know what? This is the thing. What a lot of people, and again, this is another one of those concepts I repeat a lot. First of all, perfumes are genderless. Don't ask me if this is for men or for women. It's for the type of skin that you have. It's for your hormonal balance. It could fit you or not fit you. Doesn't matter your gender. Second thing I don't like is when people ageify fragrances. Now, I know a lot of you then comment back and say, yeah, Dacob, but sometimes it's a good thing, age as in out of respect because of tradition. Yeah, okay, we're not talking about that type of positive aspect of age. I'm talking about saying this smells like old woman or this smells like old man. Don't do that. That's so respectless. It can be respectless to people that are of a higher age or people that are of a lower age, depending on how, in which context you put it. Now, having said that, this one, because it has that powdery tone mixed with the sandalwood and vanilla and powdery tone, mostly iris orris root, this is why this is for me more traditional Guerlain. And it just like gives me that classy Guerlain with, again, I sense out an aldehyde, which makes it also Chanel-ish, like 20s, 30s Chanel. This one is more 80s, 90s now in the dry down. It's like it becomes softer, while this one plays with those powders and gives us a history lesson. You see, when you say it like that, history lesson delivers, it's a positive. Then time acquires a different symbology. Now, we know that this one was formulated or released in the late 80s. So this one kind of delivers its time, but this one doesn't. This one transcends the time. I wish I could have smelled here now for you. I don't have it. The first formulation of Samsara. I wonder how the eau de parfum and the eau de toilette were in the late 80s. I guess the sandalwood was of a different quality. It was probably a better quality of sandalwood. This is a mass release product after all nowadays. I mean, it was back then too, but let's not forget that human beings are multiplying like crazy. We are the biggest parasites on this planet. So if we were humming in the late 80s, correct me if I'm wrong and I will be wrong. I don't know if we were like 4 billion on the planet or 5. We're like 7 or 8 billion now. We've doubled. We are the biggest plague this planet has seen. So the people in those countries where these are sold, I mean, even, you know, now we're going to get into like more natality rates. First world countries have a lower natality rate than third world countries. These are all statistics. But anyway, still, there are more and more people purchasing these products. That's the end of the day. That's what is happening. And more of these are produced. Hence, the quality can just go lower because there's just not so many raw materials to go around anymore. And so, you know, these perfumers have to find alternative ways to substitute certain ingredients that are becoming rare or from endangered species into synthetic. So in a way, it has its pros as well. You want to preserve the environment from a certain point of view, even though with perfumery, it's kind of hard to preserve. This is a pure chemical substance, but we love the smell. It makes us dream, right? So getting back to just the more ignorant aspect of perfumes, if you may, and this is just us very egotistically desiring a good smell for ourselves without thinking a lot about the environment. Unfortunately, that's what it is at the end of the day. But hey, everything kills you. Even breathing oxygen frees free radicals. It's also like with every inhaling of oxygen you inhale, you're killing so many molecules in your body. So there's something's got to give sooner or later. So what are we going to do? We're living in a politically correct world where basically almost nothing you say is allowed to be said without having to apologize, without having to write a list of apology to a list of people that might be offended by something that you said. And then you're going to have to apologize to the people that you... for apologizing to the other group of people, because another group of people will be offended because you decided to apologize to the first group of people, and then you're going to have to apologize to the third group of people that will be offended because you thought that you should apologize to two groups of people. And then a fourth group of people will probably take it as cultural appropriation because apologizing to three groups of people is maybe something that pertains to only one particular culture. And you see what I mean? It's a vicious circle. And you could just keep biting your own tail like a snake bites its own tail and it eats itself up. So let's try not to devour ourselves and just follow our instinct here. And the instinct, it tells me that, let me smell them out after I've blabbered on. The instinct tells me that in the past, these would have been probably even more powdery and more intense. They are more formulated for our times. Right now, this one delivers, still for 2019, delivers a punch. I'm sure that still, if you wear this in an elevator, people are going to be like, you know, the side eye, because they're going to be like, ugh, you know, again, politically correct. How dare somebody wear such an intense perfume in an elevator? I'm not going to say something nasty that is not allowed to be said in this video, but you know what I mean. I would say it in the elevator, though. So they still deliver a punch. And, oh gosh, the camera died on me, but that's fine. It has a tendency of dying on me in the right moments in a way because it allowed me to take an hour and a half, 2 hours, to let the dry down kick in, right? So let's smell it again. They're slightly different. This one is more intense than this one. We sprayed this one 3 times, this one 3 times. Here, there, eau de toilette, here, eau de parfum. This one is more intense. Again, powdery iris with vanilla, but more the iris at this point. Here we have more the sandalwood. I would say I prefer the eau de parfum for now because the vanilla with the sandally iris tone makes it less plasticky in the dry down than the eau de toilette. The eau de toilette remains a little bit more synthetic, if you may. But since we're in this like red room scenario, my Twin Peaks people will know what I mean. Let's take the red room floor and zoom in to look at this, you guys. Let's zoom into these products. What ingredients are in there? Does this really work? Kind of does a little bit. Okay, this was just a little gimmick for the video. I just love that we have the zigzag floor to match the red drapes that are on the floor of the red room. Okay, enough Twin Peaks, you guys. I'm obsessed with Twin Peaks. But you know what? Samsara with its redness could be a fragrance worn inside the Black Lodge in one of the many rooms with the red curtains surrounding it. Just a thought. To determine more kind of the storyline behind this fragrance. Yes, Laura Palmer could have worn Samsara, the eau de parfum, and the Black Lodge. And maybe the eau de toilette while she was on the way to One-Eyed Jack's. That's kind of the feeling it gives me. There's a bit of danger there. There's a bit of danger there. The sandalwood does give the illusion of danger anyway, because it's a mystical tree, if you may. And the Maison sandalwood, which was used in the original version of Samsara, probably not today, maybe it is, or well, some reminiscence of it, is even more mystical because it's from faraway lands and it carries with it a lot of tales that the wind carries on from generation to generation. So there is history and heritage there, not just the fact that Guerlain as a perfume maison is old in itself, but also the actual ingredients they use have a tradition of its own. And when I said that the Maison Guerlain is old in itself, you see again political correctness. Not in a bad way, in a good way. It's been around for long enough to know what it's doing. And what does this mean? This means that actually all of the reformulations and all of the actual modern versions of their perfumes that I've tried in these past years, they were all fine. I haven't really noticed Guerlain butchering a perfume to a degree where, in the worst case scenario, remember when I did a quick review of Fendi's first fragrance, Fendi, today's version of it? Oh my God, treacherous. It was torture to smell. It was torture to review. It had nothing to do with the original Fendi from the 80s. Nothing. Zero. I mean, disgusting. It made me regret even loving the Fendi from the 80s. That's how bad it is. But with Guerlain, it's a different situation. Even if they tone certain things down, even if they water certain things down. But because most of their formulations and recipes and compositions are so intense to begin with, you can just keep watering them down. They're still going to be strong as when compared to any other fragrance out there on the market today. However, I would wish them to, well, if they're going to water down a fragrance, reduce the price, but they're never going to do that. That ain't going to happen. They're going to up the prices rather than reduce them. You know what I mean? When it all boils down to the dry down game, they're both dry down, and then I'm going to say they're both dry. Yes, they are both dry, but this one is more oily, more wet, if you want. And this one is really dry. This one has a balmy, creamy touch with that vanilla iris, and this one has a more spiritual dry down. This one is more, it cuts more, it's dry. It goes back to the beginning where, as I said, it cuts in a way, more pungent, more alcoholic. I'm not saying that the alcohol is returning now. No, usual alcohol is the first thing that evaporates, obviously. But yeah, it's not creamy at all, you know. This one dries down to dust. And this one dries down with an oily touch, with a creamy, more balsamy note. And I think that's basically what you're balancing with here. But you know what? Usually the eau de toilettes are more sophisticated than the eau de parfums when it comes to wearability. They're a bit more cold-hearted. They have that dryness in their spirit. That's why I love eau de toilettes. Eau de parfums have more of a warmth. They're like a delicate, sometimes even in some cases with some perfumes, not in Guerlain's case, shy jump towards the pure perfume concentration concept. With Guerlain, they're usually hardcore in the parfum, you know, ball game. But with most other fragrances, eau de parfums are kind of that shy attempt to approach more depth. But since most perfume houses nowadays just won't go there, they want to play it safe. They want to make a pleasant fragrance that, heaven forbid, were to offend somebody. No, it's not allowed to offend anybody. So nowadays you're going to sense out an eau de parfum that's actually eau de toilette. And back to my t-shirt, today's eau de parfum is yesterday's eau de toilette. I'm smelling again. But they are very similar. I mean, honestly. And as I mentioned, with, let's bring it back again, L'Instant de Guerlain, I can see this one being headache-inducing in some way because of the dusty, the irisy orris rudi vanilla mixed with the musk. It can be headache-inducing. The eau de parfum more than the eau de toilette. You know, and it's so interesting to actually compare three of them. This one being eau de toilette coming out or being formulated for the first time in 2005. This is a more 2000s fragrance. It smells more like its times in the opening notes. In the dry down, it becomes more timeless. But these two are a bit more anchored into the more traditional, archaic way of developing fragrances from Guerlain that we're used to smelling from the heritage and past of Guerlain. This is kind of the past reinterpreted for the 2000s, you know, and then as we progress, every decade has its own symbology. Every decade has its own olfactive dictionary. Every decade has its own olfactive preferences and also its olfactive moral. And this is what brings me to the point where, and why, I understand why at the end of the day Guerlain is trying to water down these fragrances, not just to save some money maybe here and there on some ingredients, but also because they're desperately trying to make their fragrances acceptable for the olfactive moral of today, which is bland. But how can you blandify powerful fragrances like Guerlain fragrances that are made to conquer? They're made to conquer. So how can you blandify it? It's a very tricky task. If you want to still keep selling nowadays, you have to go with the flow. You have to adapt with the times. And I can see how hard it is for Guerlain to adapt with the times if they want to maintain their heritage. And I have to say, given the olfactive moral of the times, they're still doing a wonderful job. They're still managing to preserve a certain intensity, toning it down, but still keeping it intense if you wanted to. I'm sure that if I oversprayed this one and if I sprayed it like 15 times on one arm, I would reach that opulence of, you know, everybody's going to hate me when I'm out and about on the street because I'm just going to, you know, it's just going to be a killer smell. But if you were to dose this one delicately, if you don't do the puddle spray right close to the skin, but you go far away and spray it, you just get the cloud, the whiff of the fragrance on your skin. You can get a very delicate rendition of the fragrance on your skin. So you could dose it that way as well. You know, you could come in close or go far. The further you go, the more dusty the fragrance becomes. Literally, the particles, you can envision it. You can really envision it, the way that you spray the fragrance and the dusty little pebbles of those little tiny molecules of water, fragrance that drop on you are like dust, are like mist. And if you spray it really close, you give them no chance to do it. You just kind of, you blob it all over your arm, and you get a little puddle of an overdose of a fragrance that takes much more for it to dry down, and the risk of you kind of, because if you're having a little puddle, it takes time for it to absorb, so you might kind of rub it against something, take away half of the liquid. So, you know, there's a lot of things to consider when you're playing with the dosage of these fragrances, and dosing them is the key to anything. You want more sandalwood? Dose it in a certain way. You want less of it? Dose it in another way. Play with it. But this depends on your chemistry a lot. It depends on how your skin reacts to this fragrance. Also, the amount of times you apply or reapply depends solely on you. Some people need 1 spritz and they're good to go for a whole day. Other people need 50 to make it through the day. And they still keep saying, I can't smell it on me. I can't smell it on me. It's chemistry. It's the sensitivity of our noses. It's what it's about what our bodies are used to smelling on us or not. You're used to a certain ingredient, your body won't perceive it because it won't get triggered. It won't notice it as an alarm. It's not going to trigger you to say, this is a new smell, potential danger. You know, keep actively noticing it. Your body's going to stop actively noticing it once it doesn't deem it dangerous anymore. That's basically kind of the gist of the story, why if we are over wearing one perfume for a long period of time, our body gets so used to it, it doesn't get triggered, it doesn't consider it hazardous, dangerous, or poisonous anymore, so hence you start noticing it, sensing it less on you. One of the tricks to see if in fact the perfume is not smelling anymore is to ask people around you, people that you know, people that you trust also. They're not strangers on the street. Unless you don't want to flirt in a strange way, but that could be sick at night. I don't know. It all brings its pros and cons. But asking a person, hey, do you smell it on me? And if they say, yes, of course, oh my gosh, it's so intense. Then you go, oh, okay. So I'm just starting to my body is starting to take for granted that the perfume is there. But that doesn't mean that other noses don't acknowledge it and sense it out. So that's also something to consider. I tend to overdose with perfume. So, you know, I'm going to overuse this one at a certain point. I'm not going to smell it on me anymore. Then I'm going to start spraying it, overspraying it 30, 40 times. And then it's just going to be a glowing mess. But I just love it. I don't care. You know, I do it for me. I do it for the love of the dream, of feeling that opulence and sensation. And boy, does Guerlain deliver that sensation, you know, going back to Samsara. It delivers that waft of spirituality completely. And if, in fact, homework for you, look up what Samsara really means. You'll be surprised. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yes, I do recommend the new formulation. Why not? If you can't get the original, get the new one. It's still strong, and it's still, for all the reformulations that all of the perfume world is throwing at us, but lying most of the time to us that they're not reformulating them. Guerlain is one of those fragrance houses that does the best job at it. So I wish they were cheaper if they are watered down and when they get watered down, but still, they're still incredible. So I hope you like this review of Samsara, the eau de parfum. If you have, please do thumb it up and let me know what you think about the eau de parfum or the eau de toilette and all its formulations and iterations in the comment section down below. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, superdacob all spelled together. I'm also on Patreon, and I would like to thank all my patrons for supporting my channel that have already pledged. Also, be sure to check out Ask Dacob, the new YouTube show I am working on. Episode 1 is already out, where you get to call in live and talk to me, and all gets filmed in studio, and then the whole world gets to see it. Whoop, whoop. Write me, askdacob@gmail.com, any sorts of questions that could be related to fashion or life in general, and then we get to talk. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon in my next video. Until then, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.